And that's how you win the lottery every time.
Wait. So can you go through all that again? Just because I wasn't paying attention.
No, I'm sorry. It's only a one-time shot.
Welcome back to the In.Pencil podcast. I'm Adam.
And I'm Jess.
And good morning. We're recording this at 6 a.m. my time.
It's 11:11 my time, so make a wish.
What's that come from?
It's just an old thing, I think.
The 11:11? I've seen that before in places.
Yeah. I guess it's because it's 1111. You're supposed to make a wish because it's such a rare thing to see. I don't know where it originates.
11:11 numerology.
Probably not anything special. It's probably just because it's 4 ones, is my guess.
It's an example of synchronicity. They see it on a clock. People think it's an auspicious sign. Others claim 11:11 signals a spirit presence. However, skeptics say that, or they call it post hoc reasoning and confirmation bias. So if you see 11:11 and you think it has meaning, and then something happens to you, it's confirmation bias, more or less.
I've never heard it of having any meaning. I've just heard you're supposed to make a wish, like seeing the first star at night.
Oh, here's something. All right, so November 11th, 2011, or 11/11/11, saw an increase in the number of marriages taking place in different areas throughout the world, including the U.S. and across Asia. Okay.
Yeah. Same thing as 111 did, January 1st of 2001 and February 2nd of 2002, or March 3rd of 2003, all the way up minus June 6th of 2006, probably. I bet July 7th of 2007 had a lot of marriages. Sure. I know of a bunch of people getting married on September 10th of 2011 because they wanted the 9/10/11. People will get married on weird dates just so they can be married on a fun date. Because what does it matter in the end what day you get married on? That's not that big of a deal. So you might as well make it fun. Yeah, I got married on March 13th of 2013. So I could have the 13/13/13.
Wait, but March is 3.
No, Smarch.
Smarch.
Have you never seen The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror?
I have, but...
On the 13th hour of the 13th day of the 13th month, we had a PTA meeting. We were there to discuss the misprinted calendars, or something to that extent. It's probably one of my favorite Simpsons lines.
For other unusual months, see Febtober. All right. Yeah, we're here to talk about cryptids.
So if you're curious, crypt is the word hidden from the Greek word kryptos or kryptos.
Yes.
To mean hidden. And id is the word that Freud used to talk about your id.
Right.
That primal, like, whatever you're going to do, that primal instincts.
Right.
So your hidden instinct. That's my psychological babble. Psychobabble, that's what it's called.
The id is the instinctual component of personality that is present at birth and is the source of bodily needs and wants, emotional impulses and desires, especially aggression and the libido or sex drive.
No.
The id acts according to the pleasure principle. The psychic force oriented to immediate gratification and impulse and desire,
yes.
Defined by the avoidance of pain.
If you're curious, Adam does not know this off the top of his head. He is, in fact, reading this from his hand because he has a tattoo on the back of his hand on id. And it's amazing, especially for today, because that's on his right hand. On the back of his left hand is a tattoo about cryptids.
Right. That's where
very
I draw.
Strange.
I normally tattoo all my cliff notes and different sort of just in random places.
He's the guy from Memento.
I don't understand the reference.
Oh my goodness, you need to see Memento.
I am so out of touch with society and culture.
That's an old movie. By now it's really old. It's like early 2000s.
So I've never seen most of the Star Wars movies. I've never seen...
You haven't missed much. There's only like 3 good ones. Oh yeah, I said it. Here are my 3 good Star Wars.
All right, let's hear it.
Ready?
Yeah.
The Empire Strikes Back,
Okay.
Yes. I'm going to say it. People are going to get mad. Return of the Jedi. And the third one is Rogue One. There are my 3 good Star Wars movies.
I think you picked one that wasn't like in the original trilogy that everyone always goes to.
Yeah. Yes, I think Rogue One is the best Star Wars movie. I'll say it. And my 4th favorite movie, yeah, and I'm going to say it, is The Last Jedi. I just think it's so much better than the other 3 in the sequel trilogy.
I'm completely detached from all of it because people always ask me, have you seen this movie? Have you seen that movie? Have you read this? Have you seen this? Have you watched this on TV? No, I haven't. I haven't seen any of it or watched any of it.
Ask me what movie I saw last night.
What movie did you see last night?
I actually, in preparation for this, I watched a movie called The Mothman Prophecy, starring Richard Gere and Laura Linney. I didn't finish it, actually. It's a 2-hour movie, and it has a lot of useless backstory in the first 15, 20 minutes. And I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot this part. But it is about, I don't know, 2 hours of a movie that takes place discussing a particular creature called the Mothman.
How do you feel about the Mothman?
Mothman is actually my, I guess, is the Mothman technically a cryptid? I should ask that first.
I would say yes. Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
Just make sure. I have always been fascinated by the Mothman. In fact, that's the only cryptid that I've ever really cared to do any further research on, no joke, in my life. And the reason is not because I have a connection to Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It's because I went to high school youth group at my church with someone who lived in the city on the other side of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, in Ohio. I forgot what the name of the city is in Ohio. I could have researched that, but I didn't. And if you know the story of the Mothman Prophecies, which is a movie that's based on a book of the same name that came out in 1975, it's about events that took place in 66 and 67, where a bunch of people saw what looked like a Mothman around Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and for a period of about a year. And then suddenly their bridge collapsed, killing a bunch of people. The bridge that connected Point Pleasant, West Virginia to, I really should look that up.
Gilmore Heights.
Is that the name of the?
There's Gilmore Heights and there's Conaga, Ohio.
Yeah, sure. One of those.
There's a bridge there for sure over the Ohio River.
Yeah. So it was the bridge, the Silver Lake Bridge or the Silver Bridge. I can't remember. I should have learned. I should have looked this up. As I said, I didn't get to the end. So the Silver Bridge, it's called the Silver Bridge. I didn't get to the end of the movie last night. I've seen it several times. And when I heard oh, wait, this isn't just one of those horror movies based on a true story with air quotes. Mm-hmm. The movie itself talks about a lot of things that really was reported. I mean, obviously you can't tell how much of this really happened. What we do know really happened is, yes, the bridge collapsed on December 15th, 1967. I went blank on the year. And that really happened. And then after that happened, the sightings of the Mothman disappeared almost entirely. So people were like, was this an omen to talk about this event happening? And it's really never, you don't really hear much about the Mothman since then. So it was just this one isolated incident for about a year. And there's so much lore around it, trying to figure out what it was, because there was a government building around there that the Mothman kept being around. There were supposedly men in black that were showing up. And it's all this everything, UFO sightings. It's everything that was involved.
Yeah.
And so that's always been my favorite, my most, not favorite, I don't necessarily consider it my favorite, but the most interesting cryptid that I've ever thought about, because of how many different people saw it on isolated incidents over a period of a year, and then never again. And not really before. There might have been a few since, but it's not like seeing alien spacecraft, which has been seen for millennia by a bunch of people across the world. It's just one city, basically, for a year. A major tragedy happens, and then it's gone. It's that is so strange.
Yeah, I'm looking at the map right now of Point Pleasant.
The movie is loosely based on the story. You can read the book. The thing that I don't like about it is the sources that you get this information from. The main sources outside the movie, and there's apparently a second movie that was made in like 2010 that's supposed to take place later, but it's one of those terrible, cheesy horror films. Where it's like, so-and-so comes back after becoming a big city reporter, coming back to their hometown, and then the Mothman comes and gets them. And it's like, that's not how it happened in the story. It has a much different type of fear that people had. The Mothman was not like killing people. It was just really, really creepy. Like, people weren't getting killed by it or dying from it. It was just some creepy phenomenon that was happening where it would go into like people's bedrooms and they would see it above their bed.
Yeah.
Or it'd jump and fly off into the air. Or one time it chased somebody down the road who was doing like 80 or 90 miles per hour.
Wow. Yeah. There are a lot of weird cryptids in West Virginia. They have the Flatwoods Monster. Are you familiar with that?
I am actually not.
I don't know a lot of the backstory of it. A lot of the cryptids that you see or that you hear about from West Virginia, I know about them from, well, the Mothman I've known about for a while. Flatwoods Monster I've heard about, but some of the others I have just found out about from playing Fallout 76 because a lot of them were mentioned in there. And there's a lot of cool ones. But are you familiar with the Jersey Devil?
I know a little bit about the Jersey Devil, mostly for two reasons. One, the New Jersey Devils, the hockey team, gets their name after it, but also from the X-Files. So when I was a kid and when Adam was a kid, if you wanted to learn about cryptids, you had to see the Monster of the Week episodes of the X-Files. Because that was the easiest way to learn about them.
I've never watched the X-Files. See?
Oh my goodness. How could you not? But yeah, so you'd get like Monster. There was there were two types of X-Files episodes. There was the ones where they had like government conspiracy and aliens and all that. And it was the black oil and all that stuff, for those who know what I'm talking about. And then there was the Monster of the Week episodes. And let's just face it, the whole like overarching like government stuff going on was like supposed to be the whole point of the episode of the show, but the Monster of the Week ones were great because you got to see things like Frankenstein's monster, kind of a version of it, and the Jersey Devil.
So did you hear they're bringing back the X-Files in a way, like a cartoon or something like that?
Oh, again? Oh, please stop. The last time they brought back the X-Files, they did terrible with it.
I think it's supposed to be a cartoon.
Yeah, the last season, because they brought it back for 2 seasons, and the first season was amazing. And it ended with with spoilers for like a 6-year-old show episode. It ended with like Scully trying to save Mulder because he was dying, and they're on a bridge, and then like an alien spacecraft turned on its light like right above them, and she looks up, and then credits. And you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if he's going to die or if the whole world's going to die. What's going on? And then they come back with the next season and they pretend like none of that actually happened. Like they just pretend like it was all a dream or something. And it was so terrible. It was so terrible written.
So, I don't remember how long ago this was. Probably at least 10 or 12 years ago. I had a friend from New Jersey that I was working with on one of the ships that I was on in Japan, and he was from New Jersey, and he knew I was kind of like into like the paranormal or whatever. So he's telling me about the Jersey Devil, not the New Jersey Devil. That's a different thing altogether. But the Jersey Devil.
Is this one from England?
Huh?
Sorry. That was a stupid joke. I said, is the Jersey Devil from England?
I don't know where to go with that, honestly.
You just know it's the Jersey Devil, the one from Jersey is a place in England, and New Jersey is the state, right?
Okay, I see what you mean.
So the New Jersey Devil drinks Bud Light and wears an American flag on their back. The
Right.
Jersey Devil drinks tea in the morning.
Right. And conquers
1/4 of the world.
1/4 of the.
Have you ever heard the John Oliver thing? Is like they don't give British people guns because the last time they did that, we conquered 1/4 of the world.
Right. I don't think I've heard him say that specifically, but I understand the sentiment, especially coming from him, somebody who.
It was an old special that he did back in like 2006 or 7.
So the Jersey Devil. So when he told me about it, I was like, that sounds awesome, like, and also terrifying. But I've got a little article here that explains, and of course, everything we read will link in the comments or description or whatever.
So Wikipedia.
No, this isn't Wikipedia. This is.
No, I mean that's what I was using. I was using Wikipedia because I have to remember what things I've got all my information from.
Well, this is from mythology.net. This is the strange creature that haunts the state of New Jersey has origins as old as the United States of America. The legends date back to the early 1700s and claim this monster can be traced back to one family, the Leeds. According to legend, Jane Leeds, sometimes called Mother Leeds, fell in love with a British soldier and was cursed for her transgression. What was the transgression? Oh, it was around the time of the Revolutionary War. So, all right.
Oh, okay. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Mother Leeds went on to have many children, presumably with a British soldier. After having 12 children, she was exhausted and ready to give, well, obviously, ready to stop giving birth. I mean, 12 is a lot. One's a lot, but anyway. However,
I heard 8 is enough, but apparently I was wrong.
I heard 3's company, but anyway.
2's a crowd. Wait.
What?
3 lefts don't make a right, but 4 do.
So she had become pregnant with a 13th. So she was pregnant with a 13th child. Angry at her misfortune, she cursed the child in her womb, saying that it would be the devil. Though she did not know at the time, this would create the monster that would go on to terrorize the entire state of New Jersey. On the night that Mother Leeds went into labor, a group of her family and friends were gathered around to welcome the new child into the world. They waited in the next room while the midwife helped Mother Leeds give birth. At last, the child was born, and all of Leeds' family and friends rushed into the room to see the new child. At first, it appeared to be normal and of good health. Suddenly, things began to change. The innocent face of the child that turned into that of an ugly goat or horse, according to some legends. Its hands became claws and its feet became hooves. The infant began growing at an alarming rate and suddenly resembled a strange cross between a wyvern, I don't know what the hell a wyvern is, and a farm animal. It sprouted a pair of leathery wings and finally unfurled its hideous transformation in the room. The creature then killed the midwife and many of the friends that had gathered in the room. Some versions say that everyone but its parents were slaughtered. Either way, after killing some or all of those gathered in the room, it flew up the chimney and into the woods, where it still resides to this day. The Jersey Devil is known to be both terrifying and disgusting, largely due to its horrendous appearance. The creature is known to have had an impressive transformation that makes it one of the most interesting cryptids, while also one of the most difficult to believe in. When the devil transformed, it is said it sprouted horns from the top of its head. The next thing to spring out were claws, followed by the hideous fur and feathers that seemed to appear out of nowhere. It was growing at an alarming rate that was certainly inhuman, and stopped only when it reached anywhere from 6 to 10 feet in length. It grew a forked tail and sprouted disgusting leathery wings. Finally, the transformation was complete when its eyes began to glow a terrible shade of red, which is the same eye color that most cryptids glow, like the Missouri, the Missouri monster, or the Mothman.
Yeah.
Its face now appeared to resemble both dog and horse. So it went from being a wyvern, a farm animal, to a dog and a horse. What's that?
I was like on newjersey.com or nj.com where it's having
Yeah.
it has a photo that was apparently taken not too long ago, or like in the last 15 years, of what somebody thinks is the New Jersey Devil. And it looks like a goat on wings that was thrown from the sky.
Is it that? Oh, I think we're looking at the same photo then.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I'm like, this looks fake, this particular photo. Also, there's one thing that says it may look like a llama.
This thing says the Jersey Devil is a myth that has its origins rooted deeply in American history. The beast has been known to cause several small scares in modern day, though this was not originally the case. In fact, it is entirely possible that the legend of the Jersey Devil started as a joke between rivals. It seems that all elements of the Jersey Devil myth can be tied back to a rivalry between Leeds family and the Quaker population that lived in New Jersey. This is further evidenced by the fact that before the 1900s, the creature was also commonly referred to as the Leeds Devil, as well as the Devil of Leeds. Eventually, this rivalry would go on to include Benjamin Franklin himself, who could have been responsible for the start of the myth that would lead to the fascination of America in its modern day. Wow, really?
Benjamin Franklin was involved in a lot of starting stuff.
Let's see what it says about Ben Franklin here. So eventually, Daniel Leeds retired from almanac making in 1716 and gave the company to his son, Titan Leeds. Titan took on the family business and continued to publish. What's that?
Do you think he put it in the almanac that he was going to retire soon?
I maybe like in like the author's bio or something.
Well, I was thinking like in predictions. The author of this almanac will retire soon.
Titan took on the family business and continued to publish the almanacs, mysticism and all, largely without competition until Benjamin Franklin published his first edition of Poor Richard's Almanac in 1732. There was relatively little direct confrontation between the two until 1733 edition was published, in which Ben Franklin predicted that the Titan Leeds would die. As expected, Titan Leeds was greatly angered by Franklin's outlandish claim and did his best to take a stab at the new publisher's credibility by calling him a fool and a liar. Young Franklin responded quickly, claiming that Titan must be speaking to him as a ghost because only a dead man would have such a foolish response. With this, the rivalry between the two started, and Franklin continued this rivalry until even when Titan died in 1738. And that's messed up. After Leeds' death, Franklin continued to write about the ghost of Titan Leeds and went on to say that despite Titan's passing, he had been resurrected for the sole purpose of abusing Franklin. Although highly insensitive, there was little sympathy on the part of the community because of Leeds family's loyalty to the British. So this dude, so it's like
instead of sympathy.
I said symphony.
Yeah, instead of sympathy.
Sympathy.
Oh my goodness.
Pardon
I can't say it now. It's funny. There's little symphony.
So dude published his almanac, and then Ben Franklin came out and published his almanac saying that Titan Leeds was going to die, and then Titan Leeds. So basically, it's like they were releasing diss tracks on one another, and then after dude died, Ben Franklin was still releasing diss tracks on him.
I mean, people who say like things are worse today, like humanity is getting worse, really do not know what the founding fathers were like.
Yeah.
Maybe the musical Hamilton is really starting to show the founding fathers weren't all that nice, or good people in general. Not saying they weren't intelligent people. They weren't what we call good people. Yeah. You know, the whole slavery and raping and stealing money from soldiers.
Yeah.
Probably gave it away.
Wow. I never knew this part. I never knew the part about Ben Franklin being involved in all that stuff. I didn't know any of that, but I did. So when he told me about the story of the Jersey Devil, he told me about the first part, and that like people would like still see him on like power lines and stuff, and in like this small, I don't remember where in Jersey this is, but yeah.
Yeah, it is. There was so much of this I didn't know. I didn't realize how old the Jersey Devil is. Like, what is it, 1735
Yeah,
ish?
roughly. So it predates the it predates the Constitution, and it occurred during, just leading up to the Revolutionary War.
I think it predates the United Kingdom.
Yeah, because at the time it was just Great Britain, right?
Yeah, I think this is just still like England even. I don't know the timeline on that. I'm not going to look that up. But
wow. So Jersey Devil's probably one of the first cryptids that I had heard about, and I thought it was pretty cool. Of course, that's aside from like the big ones, like your Bigfoot and your Loch Ness monster and all those. But even the Bigfoot is interesting, because people have Bigfoot sightings like everywhere, like all over the world. I think there's even like a map. Let me see if I can find.
First of all, we know Bigfoot's really just Homer Simpson.
I mean, so as you're saying that, I was writing map of Bigfoot, and I was trying to find sighting. I was trying to type in sightings, but when you said Simpson, I started writing map of Bigfoot Simpsons. Sightings.
If you've never, more Simpsons references, there is a Simpsons episode where they get lost in the woods and they think Homer is Bigfoot.
Yeah, I haven't seen the episode in a while, so I don't remember all the context of it. But
Disney Plus, you can watch them all.
So there's literally a Google Maps file that shows Bigfoot sightings, and they're like all over, and UFO and Thunderbird sightings. So Thunderbirds are interesting. Do you know what Thunderbirds are?
They're a form of U.S. military plane.
Yes, but as a cryptid, do you know what they are?
Giant birds that throw fire at you. At least that's what it is in Zelda 2. So
not the they're well, they're not. I don't think there's been any cases of like, flame throwing Thunderbirds, but Thunderbirds are basically just large birds. And
is that much of a cryptid? That just sounds like a.
They're like, I mean, they vary. When it's like they made it look like pterodactyls or something like that. You know what I mean? Or
okay.
But, and honestly, I don't know a whole lot about the lore behind Thunderbirds or big winged animal sightings. I know that I feel like I've heard that there's been a lot of sightings like in the Chicago area. But the map that I'm looking at, what's that?
What about Thundercats?
I think those are different things entirely. Yeah. But the Bigfoot sightings, so there's a ton near the Smoky Mountains and then through West Virginia. There's a lot in like the New England area up to New Hampshire and Maine. There's a lot in New Brunswick and pretty much anywhere that has large forested areas, which is like all over freaking Canada and the western portion of the United States.
Yeah, and this gets into like we talked about West Virginia, like having a lot of cryptids, and you kind of see a theme even in the Jersey Devil. Almost, I think the theme is forests.
Yeah,
Bigfoot or the Yeti. Well, I guess the Yeti's in mountains, but which is a type of Bigfoot. Obviously, the Loch Ness monster is in Loch Ness.
There's been let me see when this was. In 1983, there was a Dogman sighting at Land Between the Lakes, which is near Fort Campbell, Kentucky, or Clarksville, Tennessee, if you're not familiar with the area. Yeah. It was the summer of. All right, I'll read this later, but yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how many of these. I did say like military area for the Mothman. How many of these are around military places? Some of these sightings, which could explain some stuff. In another way, if you want to get into the conspiracy on the other side, what on earth is the government doing?
I think a lot of UFO sightings are probably related to the military, and a
Yeah,
lot of them do occur around so around St. Louis. There's a lot of UFO sightings, and they have freaking Scott Air Force Base right there, right? And of course, anytime there's UFO sighting, whenever the police or anybody calls Scott Air Force Base, of course they're going to say, "Oh, we have nothing flying. We don't know what you're talking about."
yeah.
But
They're not going to talk about. Yes, we have this experimental aircraft that looks kind of like a UFO that we're flying above St. Louis tonight. It's classified, so don't tell anyone.
Yeah, if you Google the image TR3B, if you saw that flying, that wasn't us. Sorry, don't.
Yeah.
That wasn't us.
Or like, we have nothing flying. Wink, wink. Excuse me, did you just say wink, wink? Because we're on the phone now. Yeah, I can't see. Yeah, so there are a few things that you see a lot, and that doesn't mean like discredit or credit them, but there is this idea of like the forest is where creatures are. The forest is where humans come out of. We used to live in the forest. Some people still do. But
Yes.
That's where we come from. We come from trees, basically. If you want to talk about like the evolutionary history of humanity, and so we came out of that primalness of our id. Sorry, I was trying to throw it back, but we come out of like the forest to come into the fields. We come out of the hunting and gathering to go into the farming and the societies and trades and goods, and then that idea. There's like that calling of what's in the forest. A lot of horror films are about the woods. What is in the woods? Because it's not like a clear land. Like, you don't get many cryptids in the city because the city is scary in a different way.
The city is extremely scary, especially for me. I dread going to cities.
But the country, and not just the open fields. The open fields aren't scary. What are you going to get? Like, you can see things miles away. If the Jersey Devil was the Texas Devil, it wouldn't really be a devil because everybody like, there's the Texas Devil, get your shotgun. Mm-hmm. And then you would have a sight on it for 2 miles, and then when it gets close enough, he'd shoot it and kill it. But because it can hide, it can jump, it can fly, it can do all these different things and get away from you and hide in the woods, because you can't really shoot into the woods because you hit trees. It's hard to shoot something that's moving really fast in the woods, right? Or flying around, or just, it's people don't shoot when people go hunting. They don't shoot deer who are running, right? The goal is to wait till they're standing still and then you shoot them,
right?
Because it's hard to hit a moving object in the woods. And that's the thing, like that. There's that fear right there, because what is in the woods we can't tell, and especially at night it gets creepy. It sounds weird. And there's just something that's calling us back to the woods and also telling us don't go back to the woods.
So the thing about Bigfoot that, in particular, that lends more credibility, I think, well, it's so pardon the motorcycle outside.
I thought that was an airplane.
No, it's a motorcycle. So there's, unlike most other cryptids, Bigfoot isn't. So while it is concentrated into wooded areas, because that's obviously where these things would like to live if they existed, or in the event that they exist, but it's all over the place. It's global. So I don't really care to speculate whether or not any of these things are real or not. I'm just more fascinated by the stories themselves. Yeah. But
and Bigfoot doesn't necessarily have to be like cryptids, more like supernatural type or paranormal type stuff, right? That's the thing about cryptids a lot of times. Bigfoot isn't a cryptid. It's just a different evolutionary chain of humans almost.
Yeah, but I think by definition, like, cryptids are like creatures that are not known, not scientifically acknowledged to exist, more or less.
Is like, and to put it in perspective, like the giant octopus or giant squid, for the longest time in history, they saw giant squids, like their parts of their bodies would wash up on shores.
Yeah.
And until like in the past, like I think 30 or 40 years, there was no scientific evidence that they existed until accidentally it got wrapped around. I forgot, they're pulling something up from the sea. It was like they were fishing or something, and they pulled up a giant squid, and they saw a live giant squid that was pulled up, and they got film of it, and it died very quickly because the pressure, problems with pressure. It's like you going into outer space, everything starts, blood vessels and all that, I guess. But they finally were like, okay, it does exist, but scientifically they could not prove it until then. And now we're seeing a few more since then because more people are like recording this. But that just kind of gives you the idea of like, when you say like these definitely aren't real, or are these real? Why should we even care about this? It's because there are things that we are pretty sure exist, but we just can't prove it. And if you can't prove it scientifically, you just say they're unknown.
Yeah. I'm trying to read about the giant squid on National Geographic, but there's a freaking paywall or a subscribe wall. Like, enter your email address to continue reading. No.
If you hear a beeping in the background, I believe Adam's fire alarm is telling him, hey.
In fact, we're going to take a break real quick, and I'm going to replace the battery, and then we're going to come back. Giant squid live up to their name. The largest giant squid ever recorded by scientists was 43 feet long and may have weighed nearly a ton. A group of scientists from Japan's National Science Museum, along with colleagues from Japanese public broadcaster NHK and the Discovery Channel, filmed the giant squid in its natural habitat for the first time. Cool. So we'll link down below to a live video of not a live video of giant squid, but a video recorded for a giant squid. That's cool.
And at one time, they would probably be considered cryptids. And
I mean, you see like the all right. So would the whale in the Bible, for Jonah and the whale, would the whale be considered a cryptid?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell because the whale has a few different names. Like, is it a whale? Is it a fish? Is it a leviathan?
Right, because it's the translation. Yeah.
Yeah. And what is a leviathan? Like, it's really hard to figure out because here's a few things for those of you who don't do biblical translation, which I'm sure is only like 2% of our audience. There are a lot of Hebrew words we don't know what they mean. Because the Hebrew language kind of died off for a few thousand years and then came back. And that is really hard. It's like it wasn't until the 1800s that we could really translate Egyptian hieroglyphics because of the Rosetta Stone. And those things are important to know. Like, its translation isn't just something we know how to do. So we don't know what some of these words are. And this really gets annoying when people are like, Jonah was not in a fish. He was in a whale because a whale's not a fish. And it's like, dude, I don't think people who are writing the Bible cared about the difference between a fish and a whale.
Right.
Because it was a sea creature and they called those fish.
And they weren't exactly marine biologists.
Yeah. Those classifications we created in like the past few hundred years.
Right.
At the time, if it was in the water, it was a fish. Sorry, that was a side note. But yeah, it's hard to tell like what exactly did what type of creature was that? It was a giant fish, a giant whale, a giant leviathan, whatever. It was something. It was some sea creature that's supposed to be. And it's weird that you see that like idea of like getting trapped in a fish and having to get out shows up in media today, such as like Pinocchio. And sometimes you're like, oh, this is a long going story. It's like, no, it kind of began at the Bible.
Right.
Kind of began in Jonah.
That was the OGs. Bible was the OG of that story.
Yeah. And read Jonah. It's a very interesting story. Because it's a guy who's told to go prophesy to these people, and he doesn't want to. And so God basically berates him until he does. They repent, and then he's mad that they repented.
Right.
Go figure. The Bible is wild. If you've never read the Bible, go read the Bible. The Old Testament. The New Testament's not as wild as the Old Testament.
One thing you learn from the Old Testament is you really can never please God. Like, He's just a grumpy freaking bastard who just can't please. Like this fire alarm, as a matter of fact. But I just can't.
You also learn, like, holy cow, there's a lot of stuff they don't teach in Sunday school.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, there are some things that happen in the Bible that's like, whoa, this is not G rated. This is not PG rated. This is not PG-13 rated.
Yeah, we're linking to all those verses and passages down below. So if you want
it's going to say Genesis through Malachi. Actually, Malachi is probably okay. So Genesis through Habakkuk. I don't know. But we'll just edit all that out.
No, that's fine. That's
okay.
fine. We're talking about cryptids, and I think that the whale, if a whale is big enough to be able to swallow a human whole and the human still be alive, then that's good enough for me.
Yeah, there's some supernatural stuff going on that, because there's no way you could really spend 3 days inside the belly of a whale or a fish probably and survive.
Yeah.
You could probably get swallowed and spit back up and be alive, I guess, with a lot of creatures if you get out fast enough. But you got to think, like, there's not really a place to breathe in there.
Yeah.
It's not spacious areas. Stomachs aren't spacious areas. They're filled.
I mean, in like the cartoons and the drawings that I've seen from that, he breathes through the blowhole, right? That's where the source of oxygen is, but the whale's underwater, so that's not really like feasible.
Also, the blowhole would be not connected to the stomach.
Right. Yeah.
And the stomach would probably be filled with acid, which would break you down pretty fast.
Reading the children's books, the children's illustrations of the Bible, I can't believe how inaccurate those are. Like,
I know. We have a book for our child, and it talks about the story of David and Goliath, and like I edit a lot of that out. If I've one time, I think or a few times I ever read it to her, and I'm like, you don't need to know about the part where he beheads somebody. Like, wait, what? This stuff is just disturbing. And if you really think about it, like, what would Jonah look like coming out of a well? How disturbing he would look from like acid burns all over his body.
Almost as disturbing as Luigi looks coming out of Yoshi. In the Dorkly video.
Oh, I was like, what are we talking about? I thought I did a 180 going on about, Bibles, random Bible trivia. Now you've done a 180 times 3.
No, we're fine.
Which is just a 180. So there are a lot of interesting cryptids. We can't get through them all, of course, because do you got a year?
There's too many of them.
3 podcasts a day for a year.
Paul Bunyan is considered a cryptid by some. Paul Bunyan is a large lumberjack figure in North American folklore and tradition, one of the most famous and popular North American folklore heroes. He's usually described as a giant as well as lumberjack of unusual skill. And it's often accompanied by stories by his animal, Babe the Blue Ox. Note, this is in no way a cryptid. It literally says that in this article. This is in no way a cryptid, just Paul Bunyan.
His blue ox could be a cryptid.
There's a lot of really weird ones.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't know if any that are known for like the Tennessee, Kentucky region outside, I guess, the Batman. No, the Goat Boy. What did you say that was seen in Land Between the Lakes?
Oh, the Dogman?
Dogman, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no, we don't really have. There is one famous one from the Southwest that we have not even discussed once.
El Chupacabra?
El Chupacabra.
Yeah.
The goat sucker.
But they've got video of that. Like, there's actual like video of that from like legitimate authorities.
Yeah, there's video of it, but there's no video that it's not anything that it's not an already known animal.
It looks cool. And
from what I gather is most of the El Chupacabra sightings are just some animal that takes on the name El Chupacabra. So it's like UFO. If you see something that's unidentified and flying and it's an object, It's a UFO, so everything becomes a UFO. And if you see something that is small and eats goats, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah. Here we go. El Chupacabra is one of the most well-known cryptids in popular culture. Again, all this stuff is linked down below. We'll put it down there. And has supposedly been spotted in the U.S., Latin America, and even Russia. Its name literally means goat sucker because of its supposed method of attacking and drinking the blood of goats and other livestock. El Chupacabra was first spotted in Puerto Rico in the mid-90s and is said to be reptilian in appearance, with rows of spines on its back and sharp fangs. Witnesses claim the creature's eyes glow red, like the
All
other
of them.
cryptids, yeah. And it is said that it leaves behind a distinct scent of sulfur. Victims of El Chupacabra, which have included cows, goats, chickens, are typically found dead and drained of all blood, usually with fang or puncture marks somewhere in the body. The creatures have been blamed for the deaths of thousands of livestock around the world. And unlike most cryptids, a number of supposed chupacabras have even been killed and examined, but nearly all have been determined to be dogs or coyotes with severe cases of mange. What is this?
Mange.
A skin disease of mammals caused by parasitic mites and occasionally communicable to humans. It typically causes severe itching, hair loss, and the formation of scabs and lesions. See also Demodetic mange, sarcoptic. All right, that's too medical for me.
Yeah, so basically it's just a disease that for most animals it just makes you scabby and lose hair.
Yeah.
Which makes you look like some deformed creature, but it's treatable. I
feel like there was like some native legend or myth that was attached to El Chupacabra, and I can't remember.
Always is, right? Isn't that how we do this? We have to make it historical. Like if we make up something now, we have to make it go back in the past because the US has no history, truthfully, so we have to like put it back. Like what are the American Indians, what have they said about this creature? It's like whether or not
let's see.
I don't know about this one.
With skinwalkers, there's that, you know what skinwalkers are, or shapeshifters and that kind of stuff.
Just to let you know, I do have to leave here in a few minutes. Lunchtime.
All right. So let's wrap up then. All right. So to wrap up, to kind of cut ourselves short a little bit, there are a lot of really cool cryptids. We haven't even talked about the Loch Ness Monster yet.
If you've never heard of the Loch Ness Monster, who are you? Really? Where have you been all your life?
Yeah, there's a lot of really, really interesting and cool ones. And I think that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, so we'll have some links for you to look out. This has been our spooky Halloween episode, which we've already talked about ghosts and UFOs and a few other things. Aliens. Yeah. So we've already talked about a lot of this, but we thought, well, we need to talk about something specifically for this. We do need to talk about skinwalkers sometime because I know very little about them.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be our next episode.
Yeah, that'd be
all
cool.
About them, and Adam teaches Jess about what these creatures are.
And we could tie it into Skinwalker Ranch, which is probably the most fascinating place on the planet.
Yes.
Are you familiar?
No, it sounds like a thing out of Star Wars, though. Maybe that's Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's
that's where George Lucas lives.
It's cool. It's a good place. Good place with cool stuff happening.
So
and,
that could be our next episode. We'll talk about Skinwalker Ranch, and what is Adam's favorite Star Wars film?
My favorite Star Wars film is A Link to the Past.
It's a great one. I tend to like the two films with the Ewoks that are not a part of the main series. Those are great.
See, I'm lost again.
Watch those. I don't even know if you can find those anywhere. Saw them as a kid, I think. Anyway, thank you for listening. Have a very spoopy Halloween.
And check us out, take a look at our YouTube stuff. We're putting a lot out there. So,
and if you please subscribe to our YouTube channel, because with 1,000 more subscribers, we can afford Adam some batteries to change his fire alarm.
Yeah, please. I need that.
Yes. Adam needs help. Help Adam. Subscribe to us on YouTube.
Link to the GoFundMe is in my. All right.
Okay.
All right. This has been the In.Pencil podcast cryptid episode.
Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.